Are we? Ah, and we're live. No pressure. Okay. So, Yann, thank you so much for coming once again.
Thank you.
I'll start off with something easy. How autobiographical is you and the nun?
Yeah, I think it's not autobiography by the ways of dreams, and but I never lived anything that's there. But I wish I had. I wish I was part of this group of friends and lovers. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem like
I think I'm making films to be part of the people I'm writing on. So
it's a wish fulfillment thing for you. Okay. But could you talk a little bit more about you mentioned sort of the idea of dreams and fantasy and all of that, all of those ideas. Could you talk a little bit more about how the concept of the film developed for you? Because it's a very unusual piece, really. We're not used to seeing things like this very often.
Actually, at the beginning, I just wanted to make a cheap film because it's my first feature film, and it's very difficult to make a first feature film these days in France. So I told myself, yeah, you have to have like one place with 7 people during one night. So it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy to produce. And then I started to think about the nightmares and everything, and it started to become expensive. Especially because I wanted to shoot on film. And I had a lot of, I was very, very demanding with a lot of things. So yeah, my producer became crazy, and we had a lot of trouble finding some funds for this film. But at the end, I really made the film I wanted to make. And everybody was really bad paid. I'm not proud of it.
And I remember reading an interview with Eric Cantona a few months ago where he actually talked about working with you on this film. And he said that you were somebody that he admired greatly, and you've been around as a filmmaker for quite a long time, I guess, relatively. You've made quite a lot of short films before. There's been...
Like very underground. Because
absolutely.
I made my first short film in 2006, I think.
So why the wait to make a feature? You were waiting for the right thing, or felt that you were biding your time to some extent?
Yeah, I'm quite lazy too.
Me too.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I wanted to take some time, and to me, making some short films, it was a way to prepare in a way my feature film, and to meet some actors and to meet the right crew, especially because I had a hard time choosing my DOP for instance. I think I made 6 short films, and I had like 5 different DOPs. So yeah, I think short films are a great great thing to find the perfect crew and the perfect actors you need. Yeah.
And the film has a very what a lot of people would perceive to be quite a 1980s aesthetic, neon and quite new romantic in its tone and its look. So can you maybe talk about that influence in you, perhaps, and what you wanted to bring to the screen with it?
Well, I was born at the end of the 70s, so yeah, I grew up during the 80s, and I was fascinated by, especially the cartoons we had when we were kids, like very melancholic and sad cartoons. I don't know if you know Captain Harlock, for instance, here. It was very famous in France about a space pirate, and he has like a family in his spaceship, but it's a family of mavericks, of outsiders, and it's amazing how sad these cartoons were. And we were like 6 or 7 and watching this sadness and these melancholic tunes, and yeah, we were struck with my brother by the music and by the melancholy of this cartoon, and yeah. And the same with the films I watched when I was a teenager. I think there's a lot of influences of, especially the Breakfast Club was a big inspiration for me. It's like the sex version of the Breakfast Club.
And I think the period and the feel of the film we were talking about being influenced by that period is reflected in the soundtrack as well. And we have to talk about this at some point. Your brother is sort of the lead member of M83, which a lot of you may know, and I believe you're an occasional collaborator with the group as well. Is that right?
I write some lyrics, yeah, but that's why I'm not a musician at all. I'm a real mess as a musician.
But can you talk about why you perhaps? Well, I mean, obviously it's an easy thing. You know, you ask your brother, could you do a soundtrack? But what they've done is really extraordinary with the sound they've created for the film, and it was very cheap.
Yeah.
So could you talk about why you wanted to use that sound and what you feel you sort of brings to the film?
Once again, we really share the same influences, and but you were talking about the 80s, but at the beginning, I really wanted the film to be like in a no man's land, like not in the past, not in the future, not in the present, but somewhere in the middle, you know. So you have like science fiction elements, for instance, like the jukebox, the sensory jukebox, for instance, and you have elements from the past, from the 20s, for instance, because one of the main references on my film was a writer from the 20s called Mireille Abbé, who was a friend of Jean Cocteau, and I was very into a diary. I was reading a diary when I was writing my screenplay, and I was very influenced by her words, by her poetry. So this is like a blending of very, very different influences from different eras. But it's true that the 80s are very, very present in the movie, especially with the music. I sent a lot of soundtracks from the 80s to my brother, so it would be influenced by the soundtracks like Ennio Morricone's soundtracks. A great French soundtrack composer called François de Roubaix, also. And yeah, he just received all this course, and he did his own stuff with it, and I was so happy with it. It was a very natural process. We argued on some little things, but it was okay.
We're going to open it up to the audience in a second, because I'm sure you'll have some questions for Yann, but I wanted to ask one other thing. Again, something that we have to ask is Eric Cantona.
Yes. Yeah, he was supposed to be here tonight, and I'm sorry he couldn't make it.
Yeah, well, you know, we have you. But he brings a very particular quality to the film, and for English audiences who maybe see him in films much less than people in France do, it's unusual to see Eric Cantona taking on this kind of role, but he brings a particular quality to it as the stud. So maybe you could talk about how he became involved, how you collaborated, and what you think he brings to the film.
To me, it was like a fantasy. I sent the script to his agent, and I told myself he's never going to answer. It's not going to happen for sure. But after a couple of months, I think he didn't read the script, but he watched my short films, and he really liked it. He really liked them, and he really wanted to be involved in this film. He really wanted to be part of my universe. I was really touched, and I was very impressed the first time I met him. You know, he's this very tall guy, and he's such an idol, such an icon. And my surprise, he was like more shy than me. I think because he's very humble, and well, you don't have to mess with him because he can get super angry and say, oh my God, you're messing with Cantona, please. I mean, one of my actresses had like a big thing with him, a big little quarrel. So she was terrified. She said something a bit clumsy, and he looked at her like this with his eyes, with his stare, and she was like, she couldn't breathe anymore.
And how was it to film?
And I really wanted him not to try to act. I just wanted him to be himself in a very simple way, because he has such a great voice, such a great presence. To me, it was enough, and you could read the melancholy of the character, and the sadness of the character, and the sensibility of the character, just as being himself. So it was quite simple to direct him, actually. And he was such a great presence in the set. He was always like wandering around, watching the people Working. He was always on the set. I think he was the actor who was the most on the set. Very interested in just watching the people working together. And it was like, after one shot, I was like, wow, it's beautiful. Because it was so enthusiastic. It was great. It was this enthusiastic person on the set, especially Cantona.
And how was it to film that monologue? Where, you know, you know. And do you think he was conscious of that? That was a case of him maybe breaking a boundary and really taking a risk as a performer. Do you think he was kind of had that in his mind when he was doing it?
I don't think he thought of it as a risk to just. I really wanted it to be emotional and funny at the same time. So it was like a thin line for him to act in this monologue, and he did it perfectly. I think we kept the first take. It was really perfect. And he has nothing to lose. You know, he has made such a big career already, so just wants to make something unusual and to take risks, if you can say.
Does anyone have any questions? One right at the back there. You just wait for the mic.
Just right at the back.
Oh, wow. It's a long ride.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I thought it was quite theatrical. It felt very much like a play to me. Obviously, the simplistic sets you sort of touched upon that they were quite.
I agree and I disagree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it was quite like I felt very like monologue heavy. There was quite a lot of scope for each character to sort of speak their part almost. So yeah, I just wanted to. I was just wondering if you had anything to sort of suggest about that, if that was something in your mind when you were making the film.
Actually, I think I wanted it to start as a play, and then I wanted it to become really cinematic, plunging into the dreams. And this is something you couldn't do on a stage, but. You're right. I mean, the premise of the film, the main story, it could be a play, but at the same time, to me, it's really a matter of editing, of cutting, of going from a large shot to a very close up. So to me, it's a very movie about cinema, not theatrical. But
yeah, I actually agree.
There's like an evolution during the movie.
I actually agree that about sort of like halfway through that it did feel more cinematic afterwards. Sort of like I think Matthias's story was the sort of turning point for that. Do you agree?
Matthias,
his story of his sort of resurrection was the sort of turning point to make it more cinematic.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. No, I never thought of it, yeah, but. At the same time, it's very stagey at this moment because it's really fake set designs. It's everything is fake, so it's maybe more stagey than cinematic at this precise moment. But it's funny that you think of this moment as being cinematic. So it's always interesting.
Right, thanks.
Any more questions? I've got one down here.
And I really enjoy your film, just want to say. And there is something on your film that all your actors feel so close. You know, there's this kind of closeness, and I'm just wondering, how do you make work the dynamic between the actors? Because you feel the characters being close, but you also feel that the character, the people are actually getting quite close. There's like this kind of comfort. So, I mean, that's what I felt.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking there must have been some sort of work to make them feeling, especially when you have someone like Cantona, which is quite an intimidating character. It must be quite hard to be so close to him, I suppose. I mean, you must have been doing particular work for the dynamic to work, I suppose.
Actually, we made a real orgy before the shooting. So
just
everybody was really comfortable with each other, and it was great. No, we had only 1 week of rehearsals, and I don't know. It was like a bet. I just wanted to bet that these very different actors from very different backgrounds could work together. And
But you actually make them meet maybe before?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, 1 week of rehearsals with the 7 of them. So I think it was really precious and really important.
I had to
This
see very
rehearsal.
much.
Yeah. And I don't know. I really desired, as a director, I desired all of them very, very deeply. So I hope it shows on screen.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Really enjoyed the film, by the way.
Thank you.
Very good. There's just one thing in the back of my mind as I was watching it, because I think that most people in the whole element of the theatrical display of the film, you start watching it like it's a play, like it's a very direct take on the reality. And towards the middle, in the end, you start feeling a bit more detached from that reality. And it all gets a bit blurred, and you start thinking about, this is the question I have basically, is it about the process of loss and replacement, and those guests, are they the characters that you create in your own mind and you need to deal with them in a way to create peace and move on? Is it something like that that you had in mind?
I really wanted sex to be like a healing process. But I didn't really think of psychological elements. I wanted it to be more magical than psychological. But yeah, sex as a healer, to me it was really important, because sex today is very, with all the applications and stuff, and it's like sex is becoming wilder and wilder, and I wanted sex to be like a vessel you could gather, and these people are gathering through sex and are healing their wounds, like you're saying. I really wanted sex to be very soft and to be comforting. Yeah. Thank
Any
you.
more questions?
Just the obvious question. Was it his own? And how did you know he was suitable for the role?
I'm going to let you fantasize about it. Yeah, of course it's his own. Yeah.
What was the casting process?
You're going to have nice dreams tonight. Actually, I had casted a whole band of soccer players, and they undressed. And Cantona had the biggest kick. So.
Thank you.
Another question just down front here.
She's coming.
It's so lovely to see Beatrice Starr on a UK cinema screen again. How did that come about? How was she cast? How did you get to work with her?
She arrived at the very last minute. To me, it was like the screencast also. And it's the same thing as Cantona. She never reads her screenplays. She doesn't give a shit about screenplays. So to her, it was really a risk, because I had only made short films before. But I think she was really excited, not about me, but about playing with Cantona. That's the main reason she did it. I think that she's very proud of the film now, and she's such a great actress. And I was so impressed too. And she's wild. I love her. Thank you.
Any more questions? There's another one right at the back.
Oh my god.
just wanted to ask about the soundtrack.
No, he reworked on the images, on the finished footage, on the finished film. Yeah, he didn't compose anything before the end of the.
Did you never want to say
shooting.
kind of that's not what I thought, or no, you've got it wrong. That they're supposed to be feeling a certain way at this point, or did you just let them completely go with it?
No, he was kind of free. Like I was saying, I sent him a lot of different tracks from different albums, different genres, and he did with it. So it was really simple. But on the set, I was using tracks from other bands actually, and there's not only M83's tracks in this film. There's also a track from an English guy called. What's his name again? Shit! Shame on me. Sorry, I forgot. But there's different three different tracks, for like original tracks, and then M83 or my brother composed the soundtrack. No, like I was saying, it was like very, very natural and simple process, and I don't have a lot of things to say about it because we're brothers and we have the same feelings, we have the same influences, we share something deep and sad, I think, about the way of making the soundtrack. I think this is a very sad soundtrack, and at the same time, the last title, for instance, for the end credits, it's full of hope and full of energy. So I don't know. I'm very, very proud of the soundtrack. I couldn't think of somebody else to work with me. I think I'm very blessed to have a brother like this.
That actually relates to another question that I wanted to ask you, which, and I feel like this might be a nice way to kind of to wrap up, I guess, would be you talked about the idea of hopefulness coming in at the end, and there is this kind of shift between comedy, melancholy, to something what maybe initially begins, or what people may perceive as being kind of pastiche, kind of a sum of influences, kind of builds into this statement that you want to make with this film about family and healing. And so I guess I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit, and ultimately what you hope this film stands for. What does You and the Night mean?
Yeah. I think in France we're going through a very violent era right now. There's a lot of homophobic people. The law for marriage was voted like 1 year ago, and there were a lot of people against it. So there were a lot of demonstrations in the streets against gay marriage, and I think this violence is very hurting. I mean, for not only for gay people, but for the whole country. And I think there's an echo in this film. It was really before the gay marriage law was voted, but there's this hope of just letting people live together and create the families they really want to create, even if it's a family with a transvestite and a widow and a lost kid. And I love that. I love this freedom of creating the family you really want to create. And, so I think it really stands for that, and against these bullshit people.
Okay, well, I think that's a lovely note to end on, and please give a very big hand to Yann Gonzalez.